Rousseau opens his 1762 book, The Social Contract, with the following statement. Man is born free, and everywhere he's in chains. So you talk about freedom and sovereignty quite a bit. What do these ideas mean to you, the idea of sovereignty?
Freedom and sovereignty, I think they're very closely related. Let's start just focusing on sovereignty, which is a word I don't think we talk about enough. And the general definition of that I would give is the authority to act as you see fit. And it's a word that's etymologically associated with words like monarchy, money, reign. So historically, it's referred to whatever the locus of supreme power is in the sphere of human action. So if you go like back into ancient Egypt, the pharaoh had absolute sovereignty and everyone else was pretty much operating according to his interest. You fast forward to today, modern Western democracy, we have more decentralized sovereignty in that we all get to go vote and elect officials that make decisions on our behalf. So the theme of sovereignty across history is that it's been gradually decentralizing across our different models of socioeconomics. And it's largely, you could say it's rooted heavily in the money, I would argue, which is something we'll get a lot into here, where if you have money, you have the authority to act as you see fit in the world. And even in our current political sphere, if you have enough money, you can actually reshape the rules, right? You can reshape laws, you can lobby Congress. If you're in a certain situation like many billionaires, you can negotiate your own tax treaty such that you can get favorable tax treatment with certain jurisdictions in the world. So this concept of sovereignty, which today it's common to call states or nation states or governments sovereign, meaning that they have power over people. But as I argue in a lot of my writing, I actually think that sovereignty inheres within the individual and that we each have our own interiorized space of choice, which is something like Viktor Frankl called the final human freedom, and that we, no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what exogenous situation we face, we always have this endogenous power to choose how we respond to it.
That's one of my favorite books is Man's Search for Meaning. Maybe you can break that apart a little bit. So you've kind of spoken about sovereignty as closely linked to power, but is there something about your own mind being able to achieve sovereignty no matter what the monetary system is, no matter who has the control over centralized power, the money, or whatever the mechanisms of sovereignty at the societal level? You as an individual, isn't ultimately all boiled down to what you can do with your own mind, how you see the world, how you interpret it?
Yeah, I agree. And as we get a little bit deeper into this, I think we'll come to see money as an extension of your mind. So there's a feedback between money and mind. For instance, you think in dollars today, almost guarantee it. Yes. Most of us do here in the US.
Yes.
And it's a tool, right? It's a tool we're using to decomplexify the world around us, to deal with it, to understand the sacrifices and successes across an entire history of economic transactions. We can boil that all down to the price. So it's data compression. And if you can change, if there's a central body or central governance mechanism that can manipulate that money, it can have an impact on your mind. For instance, today, so I agree with you on the first hand, say that I do believe in free will. I do believe in individual autonomy. But I also think that there are certain devices and powers in the world around us that can actually influence how we think.
And it's fascinating to think about the fact that money might be actually deeply integrated into the way we think and into our mind. Like this is, you think about what are the core aspects of the human mind? What influences cognition, the way you reason about the world? You have the Chomsky, like language is at the core of everything. But you're kind of placing money as pretty close to the core of what it means to be an intelligent, reasoning human.
I think money is a direct derivation of action and speech, actually. It's another expression of the logos. If we even think of what it means to think, is that we are generating two different courses of action, potential courses of action, and we're populating them with avatars, right? Maybe ourselves or others, and then we're comparing how we may act in each situation and what we think the result would be. So actually, it's comparison. Basically, it's comparison and contrasting of possible courses of action. And that's the same thing with words themselves. Like, most words, the vast majority of words only have meaning in relationship to other words, right? It's all contextual. Definitions of a word are more words. Now, people have argued with me about this because there is a first word, right, where you pick up rock and say rock. Mm-hmm. But most other words and much in higher abstraction tend to be relative. And what's funny about action and speech, and I got into a bit of this in our paper here, is that it's linked to evolutionary biology. And that once human beings adopted upright stance, we freed our hands. We no longer needed our hands for locomotion. Mm-hmm. So we started to evolve more dexterity. And notably, we have opposable thumbs. So this gives us an ability to manipulate and particularize the environment in a way that most other animals cannot. And what's interesting about this is that as we gain this ability to manipulate natural resources and, count, pointing was a big deal, and that we could indicate prey or items at a far off distance, and we could organize ourselves. At the same time, we co-evolved this fine musculature in the face and tongue. So it's as if speech co-evolved really with our dexterity. And as a natural extension of that came us making tools, right? We started to create things to better satisfy our wants over time. And the most tradable tool in any society, or the most tradable thing, is money. So I argue that action and speech are quintessential modes of self-sovereign expression, and that money is just sort of a tech layer we've put right on top of that, and that it's a natural derivation of action and speech.